Okay, let's try another option at making a web page. This time, let's use the NVU, sometimes called New View, open source, so it is free, web page editing software. And this is what I've been using for my class website. My class website's a little bit out of control. Someday I have to start over again and make a new website. I've got so many pages now, and they're not all linked in proper fashion. So I've got to do some correcting or start again from scratch. But here's the NVU software, and I've got our assignment page open. So each day I've been changing this. Now, some things that are different, I already have some styles set up. So in our last video, you heard the term CSS, a cascading style sheet. So this is going to be blank if we do a brand new page, and you won't be choosing styles, but you see you have options for sizes of text and boldface, and we can pull down to change different types of fonts. So a lot of this looks very similar to you, this idea with buttons, adding links, adding images, adding tables. So you could pretty quickly teach yourself how to do this. And this isn't exactly what the website looks like. These dotted lines are invisible when you actually are in a browser. But because this is very close to what's actually going to be printed, we say that this is a WYSIWYG editor. I'm creating the page to look almost like what it's going to look like when we are in a browser. So I'm going to go to File, and you should do this along with me. So you can find the NVU software, and let's do a brand new file, and it gives us some choices here. Let's just do a blank document, and let's not worry about the other choices here. Leave it as all the defaults created in a new tab. And now I have a blank slate to work with, just as if this were word processing or whatever the case might be. I was hoping you really got a good understanding of tables when we did Microsoft, because I think tables are a good way to organize your data. They might make a mess of your HTML code behind the web page, though. But let's take a look, since this is a first chance to see what a website would look like. Let's insert a table, and you've seen this option before, so I'm going to make a 3x3 option of a table. And if I wanted more lines, you won't be surprised if I'm in the last cell and I hit Tab. It will add another line for me. Or if I'm in one of the cells, there's an insert in the table menu. There's insert a row above or a row below, or insert columns. So you can always change your mind later. Okay. When we start a table, it's going to use auto fit. So it's going to look like some crazy things are happening here at first. But I'm just going to go to the second row, and I'm just going to type some text in. And you can type in something similar. It doesn't have to be exactly this. So here I'm going to say, this is for summer CS, and you can see what autofit is doing. It's making that first column much wider. But now if I click in the second cell of the second row, and I'll put my name here, so you can see how it auto adjusts to balance these columns of our table. And here we'll say web page with NVU. All right, and of course there are options if you want to resize your table. There is a table properties dialog box, and we'll take a look at some of those features in a minute. But for now, let's just leave it this way. I might use this top row to set up some sort of header for my page, and I might select all three of those cells, and under Table, let's choose Join Selected Cells. And then we could click on this Center option, and there we could put the title of our web page. And you can feel free to put something in. I'm going to highlight that. I could have picked this right away, but let's go to this pull-down menu and let's make that heading 1. Those are your built-in styles. So let's pick heading 1, and you can see that that makes it a lot larger font. Could you get even larger than that? Yes, you could, using the enlarge and decrease font choices. How about the color of the font? Here's 2 quick buttons. There are other ways to do it, of course, hidden in the menus, but this top box is our color for our font, and the bottom is for the color of the background. So I'm going to change this to whatever color you might want to pick. So you can pick from the map, or you can just pick one of the selected choices. And how do we get some more color and features in here? Well, in the table, let's go look there now in table properties. We could change the height of this row. So we could say that we want the height of this row to be larger than this in a specific number of pixels. So you could apply and see what you think. Let's make that even larger. Let's see what happens. If we're changing that. Oh, and it's doing this to each of the rows. Sorry, I guess I want to be on cell here. And I want to change just this one. And let's see what the difference is here. If I choose apply, you can see that it changed only the height of the one that I'm in right now. So if we make this 80 pixels and we apply, so it's only changing the height of that cell. While we're here in cell, this is one of the places where we could pick a background color for just this cell. And if there's nothing here, then it says let the table color show through. So this is my header line, so I might choose a background color for this cell. And this is where I'm not going to do a lot of thinking here, so I might end up with quite an ugly page. Let's apply that. And then let's close this box for now. We can come back and do some other things with that later. So each of these cells, we could, if you wanted to do center, it's just a matter of choosing that. And once you have that set up, it'll stay that way. So we could have chosen the center before we even put in the text. And you can experiment if you want to. We don't have any, I'm sorry, those are our built-in styles, and we haven't done any styles of our own. So here we can go to seeing what these look like. So let's go across here. Let's make that heading 3, just so out of curiosity you can see what they look like. Heading 4, and let's make this heading 2. So you get the idea of what those are, and you can change the color of the text. I'm not sure, you don't want to have lots of different colors on a web page, so that would be hard for your readers, but remember you can change the type of the font as well. Used to be it was highly suggested not to choose from so many fonts because everything might not be supported on the computer of the person that you choose. So in fact, that's not taking that font. So let me just do something more standard here. So you could experiment with the fonts here. And of course, we don't have to worry about this too much right now. So it's taking some of the fonts and not others. All right, let's see what else we might do in our table. Inside this, let's say I hit the enter key is why it went down a space. So this is what you see is what you get. So when I hit enter, it did go down a line. Let's say that we want to have a link here. Go to MUHS home page. So that would be a good thing for you to see. Let's highlight MUHS home page. And then we're going to insert a link. And to get to that link, it might be easier. I actually have some windows stacked up behind here. So it might be easiest to just go to the home page of Marquette High, and in fact we don't really need the whole index, but remember that index is the name of the first page of any website. So we could copy that whole URL, and then we could go back here, and let me repeat this so you see where I was. I highlight the text, I choose link, and I simply put in the URL address. So when I click, there's my hyperlink. Pretty much the same that we've been doing in other programs. Let's choose insert image here. If I insert image, it opens up choose file. It opens up a chance for me to browse whatever files. This happened to be the last folder I was working with. And so let's go to my Photoshop project that I was doing. And alternate text here is nice if you put this in. So I'll say moon landing. And one thing that you might want to do, you don't have to do all of these tabs, but dimensions is worth looking at. When you insert an image, the default is to print it as its actual size. Well, its actual size would be 800 pixels wide, and I don't want to use up that much space. So you could use this restraint here and customize the size. So let me actually make this 400 pixels wide, and notice that the height was relative to the width. And when I click OK, and I can select that and center it in the cell just like I could center text. But that's all there is to inserting an image. Oh, let's do something different in this cell. This is already a table, but what I'd like to do is divide this cell into 4 pieces. So what I could do then is insert a table inside that table. So I can get that from the menu, insert table, or you might have noticed that it's also in the button here, insert a table. This opens up 2 different ways, so I'm going to cancel this. This is what you saw before, insert table, and then it let you choose. So I want 2 by 2, and notice that we could say precisely what we want it to do here, but we could just choose this quick option and then format it later. And so I might do something like this. Who knows what these are going to be. I'm just going to do category 1, and I hit the right arrow or tab. Category 2, I hit the down arrow and the left arrow. Category 3, category 4. But this table, so that you get some ideas of how you can make tables look different. Let's go to the table properties, and the border, you'll see what happens here. Let me actually move over here. If the border, if I make it 4, let's apply and see what happens. So the border of the table, and it kind of gives you a bit of that 3D effect. So I'll say apply and it gets a little bigger. The spacing between the cells and the padding between the cells, how much is allowed between the content. So you could play with those, but border is often something that folks are interested in. If I go to cells, it's going to be where my cursor was. Let's see if I do a background color. I think my cell was, I think I was in cell number 1. Let's find out if I choose green. Let's see. Oh, and I just chose background color. So that didn't do, oh, maybe it's just because I didn't hit apply. Yep. Okay, so you see that I was in cell 1, row 1, column 1. And that's the only one that got that background color. So now if I click the next button, notice what's selected now. And I could give that a different color. I'm not sure why you want to do this, but just to show you some of the options. So let's pick a little darker green for that one and click apply. And when we do next, you can see what's highlighted. So let's, just as long as we're experimenting with color, we'll go with blue there, and the next cell we'll go with a little darker blue. And then we'll apply, and let's close. So you can also do various things here with the height of the cells. If you change the font, if we change the font, and again, notice we can use center here, or we could get center from that table. If I went to heading 2, the table has to get larger to accommodate that. And the text, I can change the text color with this quick button. So let's make that purple. And again, you would want to do limited amount of color and styles on a web page. So this is not a very attractive web page, but you get the idea of what is possible. All right, let me just show you that you don't have to do everything inside of a table here. So let's enter a bulleted list here. What should we do? This is, I can't type. This is WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And NVU is open source software. So programmers, many programmers work on it and they make it available to us. So it might change along the way, but you can save it and you can obtain it free. Just search for it on the website. This is enough for now. All right, so let's make our line here a little larger. So let's make that a heading 1. And let's highlight it with a color for that text. And then let's select these 3 options right here. And we can either do a numbered list or a bullet list. So you can see that we've got a lot of different choices of formats. Okay, you could play with this much longer. If you didn't like this, sorry, I didn't mean to click that. If you didn't like this blank row in your table, there's nothing there, so it won't print if there's nothing there. If you wanted a blank row to show, then you'd have to put in a space. So let me leave it there so that we can see whether it prints or not. All right, now I don't even have to save this page. I can go right to a browser, but that would be certainly a bad technique to teach you. So I want to have you do 2 things here. Go to Format, Page, Title, and Properties. If you're going to make a website, then this is pretty important because search engines need to be able to find out what's on these pages. So you should give every page a title. So for example, if this was the home page of my website, this would be the index page, or you could type home page, whatever you want. Author's name, these are going to be items that search engines can find. And descriptions, this, I might say this is a sample student website. If this page is a template, then I can reopen it, remember, and make other pages that look similar without starting over again. Choosing a language, it's probably going to default to English if you didn't pick anything here, but notice we got all versions of English. I guess I have to scroll to get to United States, and we'll click OK and OK. And then I'm going to go to File, Save As. I haven't done any of this yet, so there's the samples I was doing with Notepad, and now you can see the advantage of naming your page is that came up as your file name with an extension .html, and I'm happy with that, but you could change it. You can change it to something else. So I'm going to click Save, and now this is only local. I don't have a domain name. I don't have a way to publish this. Nobody's hosting a website for us yet. You guys could give me pages you create and I could put them on my website, which is published, obviously. But this is just locally. But now let's go to File and let's choose to browse the page. And it says, what do you want to launch a specific program, or do you want it to just choose your default? So it's going to go to whatever your default browser is. And there's our beautiful web page. And notice what happens as we make it larger and smaller. So you might be interested with that. You could fill up your page. You got a scroll bar. So in just a couple minutes, with a WYSIWYG editor, you can get quite a bit of formatting done on a web page. And that's enough for now.